Our viewers are loving this series on the stats you need to get into top business schools. So today, we're reviewing another M7 program. It's a program of a distinct character, a community brought together, punctuated, if you will, by its magnificent global hub right on the shores of Lake Michigan. I'm talking about Kellogg, of course. For years, Kellogg has had a number of perceived tropes or stereotypes. Number one, Kellogg is an inclusive environment, and that one is mostly true. Number two, Kellogg is solely a marketing program, and that one is patently false. Let's start with the first. The stats that Kellogg shares send some mixed signals about it being an inclusive and welcoming program. Kellogg did reach a notable milestone when it admitted a class that consisted of 50% women, becoming only the second M7 program to do so, after Wharton did so a few years back. We should note that Duke Fuqua, not in the arbitrary M7, matriculated a class of 51% women this year as well. At Kellogg, we can't imagine that this is all happenstance. The admissions office must be doing a great job of attracting female applicants. So if you're a strong female applicant, this cuts both ways. On the one hand, Kellogg is looking for you. On the other, ironically, you may face stiffer competition than you would at a peer program like CBS or Chicago Booth, where the percentage of women is lower. Kellogg's class is similar to peers in that 11% comes from the LGBTQ+ community, comparable to its crosstown rival Chicago Booth or Wharton. And 40% of its class is international, which is a nick ahead of Booth, 35%, or Wharton at 31%. One surprise is that only 2% of the Kellogg class comes from the African American community, and only 5% comes from the Latin American community. 7% combined is low relative to other M7 programs, which have double this representation in their class. While programs can no longer ask applicants about their race or ethnicity, admissions officers still want to admit diverse classes. So if you're from the African American or Latino communities, we would strongly recommend that you find a way to let the admissions office know that via your resume, short answers, and essays. You can't explicitly tell them, but you can weave your background into your story. We discuss this at length in On Track, our dynamic admissions curriculum and platform. After filling out a simple questionnaire, our curriculum adapts to your needs. If you're interested in Kellogg, your customized plan would include our Learning About Kellogg and Kellogg Application Steps modules. One of our On Track users commented that he felt ready to meet with admissions officers after watching our school modules in a way that he didn't after a deep dive into that school's website. We have a free plan that allows you to test drive the platform. Check it out. We discussed class composition. What about Kellogg's reputation as a marketing program? Sure, you can go to Kellogg if you're currently in a marketing position, or if you want to go into brand management or analytical marketing or product management. Kellogg has a tremendous faculty and wealth of resources in this area. But you don't need to come from or go into marketing to get in. In fact, 32% of its incoming class comes from consulting, 18% comes from finance, another 18% comes from technology. That's nearly 70% of the class from the big three. Only 5% comes from consumer products. So old tropes die hard, but Kellogg is open to all, and its big three line up similarly to peer MBA programs. Similar to other M7 programs, Kellogg's average pre-MBA work experience is about 5 years. That doesn't mean you have to wait until you have 5 years of experience, and it doesn't mean that once you surpass those 5 years, you are inadmissible. It simply means that that is the time when most deem themselves to be ready for MBA study. Of course, it goes without saying that you need strong stats to get into Kellogg. While Kellogg admits students with undergrad GPAs ranging from 2.7 to 4.0, the average is a 3.7, which strongly suggests that that 2.7 is an aberration. If the program's average is 3.7, they just can't have that many 2.7s in the class. Still, it's possible to get in with one if the rest of your candidacy stands out. We've certainly seen it done. More likely, a competitive applicant has a GPA that's above a 3.3. Our hypothesis, based on ranges from other programs, is that many in the class have GPAs between a 3.3 and 3.9. With respect to GMAT scores, Kellogg's 733 average on the classic GMAT is a hair's breadth ahead of Wharton at 732 or Booth at 728 and a touch behind Stanford at 738. These are minuscule differences, and I would argue that they're basically irrelevant. Kellogg's full GMAT range is 640 to 780, but again, a single outlier can throw off that scale. The bulk of the classes will be accepted with scores in the 690 to 760 range, which we estimate to be Kellogg's middle 80% range. We suggest that our applicants target a middle 40% range to be safe, which we suspect to be 710 to 750. Of course, these are old GMAT scores. In new GMAT terms, Kellogg's average is 685, and our 40% target is 655 to 715. With respect to the GRE, Kellogg's average is a 162 verbal and 163 quant. The ranges are a broad 152 to 170 on the verbal side and 149 to 170 on the quant side. Again, that very broad range might encourage a few applicants who have low scores to apply. Kellogg's average GRE scores are quite similar to CBS's 162 and Chicago Booth's 163-161. Again, we'd be splitting hairs with these differences, so we won't split them. We've found in recent years that anything over a 160-160 is a safe score at Kellogg, though we also know that admissions officers tend to have a bit more leeway with low GRE scores relative to low GMAT scores. If your score is lower, please reach out to us for a free consultation and we can discuss your candidacy. Kellogg omits a ton of information that would be useful to us. It doesn't share the percentage of test takers for the GRE versus the GMAT, nor does it share the number of colleges represented in its class or the number of countries or nationalities represented. Kellogg, help an applicant out. Still, we have a sense of the Kellogg student, an experienced professional, just as likely a male or female student, with an exceptional GMAT or strong GRE, less likely to be a member of a minority group than we'd expect in peer schools, and just as likely to be coming from finance, tech, or consulting. If you're interested in learning more about Kellogg, please check out On Track by mbaMission, and please check out our next video in which we compare Kellogg to its crosstown rival, Chicago Booth.